Hello, how's everybody doing today? This is Mickey. Well, today we're going to take this photo and process it from beginning to end and take it from this to this. And we're going to use Lightroom, but I'm going to also introduce 3 other applications that I use on a regular basis to help me add enhancements to what Lightroom can do. The first is DXO Pure Raw 5, and this allows me to take noise out and optical imperfections that are introduced from a wide-angle lens. The next I like to use is Skylum's Luminar Neo, and this has a new tool in it in their latest version that lets you build a depth map and add enhanced light to your photograph. It's an absolutely wonderful tool to use when you need to add light to certain areas of your photograph. And the last one is, you know it and you love it, it's called Topaz Photo AI, and I use that for the typical sharpening and facial recognition, or facial cleanup. So let's get started and process this picture using all those 4 applications to see how we can go from here to here. To start out with, I'm going to choose a profile of Adobe Portrait, and I'm going to hit Auto, which gives us a really good start. I might want to bring up the shadows just a little bit, and I don't like all those highlights because we're going to use masking to bring those highlights back in a little better. So I'm going to take these highlights down, maybe bump up the whites just a little tiny bit, and I'm really not going to do much else with this right now. So the first thing I want to do here now is jump into DXO. So we're going to go to DXO Pure Raw, and instead of processing instantly, I'm going to say preview and process just so you can see what we're working with in DXO. Alright, in DXO, I pretty much use the default or these settings right here, and if we zoom in, we'll go to 200%, which is kind of really big, but you can see that before and after, before and after. So it's gotten rid of noise really good. Let me put it right here so you can see noise here and here, but it's done a good job of cleaning it up, and you can tell it's done just a little bit of optical correction just by the way that it's moved around. So let me show you before, after, before, after. So I like that. I'm going to go ahead and process it, and from here I move into Skylum's Luminar Neo. So as you can see, it's done some correction because we see the canvas, and we're going to be cropping here in just a few minutes, so I'm not really worried about this right now. All I want to do now is jump into Luminar Neo. In Luminar Neo, I want to go to Edit. I want to come down to the Creative. I want to go to Light Depth. Now what I'm looking for here is to relight this scene to make it a little more contrasty in the center here, or a little more light. I want more light on this grading, and it's kind of flat right now. I want to bring this out. So you can see our depth mapping here. It's chosen the musician and the ground in front of him, which I pretty much like, and we can adjust that, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to come to about 50%. You can see it's already doing a good job in lighting up the center area while leaving the dark and having the light streaming in. Now we can move our light up and down here, and what I'm looking for, like I said earlier, is I'm looking for light hitting this. All right, I want my light to be here, here, and on the man, and not so much on the mural that's in the background. We can grab our sides here and bring the light in or expand it out, but I do kind of like it right there because I can see most of my light right in about the center of the frame. You can soften the edges by this slider here to make the light a little more spread out from the middle. Don't like it too much. I kind of really like it the way it is right here. If we look at our before, after, before, and after, pretty much it's given me exactly what I want. You also have the ability to make it warmer. You can change the brightness near. We'll actually darken this down just a little bit, and the warmth near or far, and the brightness far. And I don't want to really bother with that. I'm going to fix that with masking in Lightroom. So we're good right here. I'm just going to hit apply, and we'll move back into Lightroom. Alright, here we are in Lightroom, and now I want to do just a little cleanup here in sharpening and facial cleanup. So we're going to go to Process with Photo AI. So here we are in Topaz Photo AI, and it's doing its thing. It's on autopilot, so it does see it needs to recover a face, and it does see it needs some sharpening. So there's really nothing I need to do here. It's pretty much figured it out. And if we look at our before and after, see, it's done a really good job. Now I shot this, at 1/60th of a second because I wanted to get some movement, and I did get some. I'm not real happy with it. I wish it could have been better, but it is what it is. And Topaz Photo AI has done a good job of cleaning up the man's face and sharpening things a bit. So I'm just going to export that to Lightroom. All right, here we are back in Lightroom, and now we can start doing all our edits in Lightroom now that we've concluded with our other third-party applications. The first thing I want to do is kind of level this out, and I'm going to go to the transform tool, and I'm going to choose the upright, and I'm going to pick maybe the lower part of this grading right here and the upper part. That should give us a good straight line right there. Then I want to go to my cropping. I'm going to hit the X key so that converts it to portrait, and I'm going to choose and this is kind of very subjective on how you want to crop this. I want enough room down here so I can make room for the light that's coming in. Keep him in a proper thirds orientation. I do like these faces up here, so I do want to include those while I crop down here. And I think that's probably going to get it right good right there. So there's our crop, and now we can start processing. Let's just hit the crop again. I just want to look at my orientation, see if it's level enough for me. It's really kind of funny because we have all these straight lines coming across these 90-degree angles, and it kind of throws you off a little bit, but it's pretty much as straight as we're going to be able to get it, as you can see there. So let's just start working on setting this light the way we want in this photograph. Let's go ahead and start grabbing our mask, and we're going to grab a linear gradient. We're going to bring it in right here at the bottom, and let's darken down this corner right here just a little bit, about like this. And let's go and grab a radial gradient. We're going to start off canvas. We're just going to bring it in like this, rotate a little bit towards our musician so we can bring some light in. So we'll bring in a little, increase the exposure a little bit, increase the shadows a little bit more. We might put a little texture in so we can see those tiles on the floor, and maybe just warm it up a little tiny bit, about like this. And then what I want to do is go to subtract. I don't want to subtract the subject because I don't want this light on his shoes just yet, because we're going to be putting more masks on, and if we keep masking the shoes, which are bright white, it's going to blow them out. So until I start masking the subject directly, I don't really want anything hitting there. But so far, we now have a good light modification on the floor, so we can see that sunbeam as it's coming in from the left hand side. The next thing I want to do is I want to work up on the mural behind this musician. So we're going to grab a linear gradient, and I'm going to hold my shift key down so we get a straight line across, and I'm going to move it to right at the top of that brick wall, about like this. Next I want to go add my subtract and select subject because I don't want any of that being involved in the mask on the wall. So now let's just brighten our mural up in the background. And we don't want to go too much. We want to know enough to see it there, but we don't want to get so bright that it takes away from our subject, which is our musician. And also we have these defects of mold or something in the mural. And this is a very old building in Basel, Switzerland. This is in the town hall, the original town hall. So while this mural is here, you can see that weathering over time has brought that on the mural, and we have a way to fix that using Gen AI. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But we just want to brighten this up, maybe bring up the shadows a little bit, not too much. We can kind of counter that with some dehaze, about like this. But as you can see, that kind of adds contrast, a color to the picture that we don't like, or I don't like it. So I'm going to bring the saturation down just a little bit. And maybe just add a little blue to it to take that yellow tinge out. And now let's try just increasing the exposure a bit like that. So it brings the picture out a little bit, takes that haze away. We'll work on this here in just a second. You can see we have a little dark line here, which means we might want to bring this down a little bit with our feather without really getting on the wall. Let's see what this looks like. That looks pretty good. All right. So now let's take a whack at this moss or fungus or something that's growing here. So let's go to our Gen AI tool, and we're just going to hit these spots about like this, and let's see what it can do for us. I'll take these over here, these over here, hit remove. And you might end up having doing this 2 or 3 times if you don't get the effect that you like right away. We'll just have to see how it turns out for you. Well, as you see, we're back from the Gen AI, and it looks like it cleaned it up pretty good. We still have some hazy things in here, but that's just the nature of this old mural. We might try circling this area right here and see if we can maybe bring this out a little bit better. Since it's really no objects that are very obvious, we might be able to use Gen AI just to remove some of that haze. Yeah, so not too bad. And then we still can go to our dehaze and see if we can clean that up at all. So we're on this mask here. We can go down to effects and maybe turn the dehaze down just a little bit. Not too bad. That looks pretty good. All right. So next what I want to do is start masking my subject. So I'm going to go up here and create a new mask, select subject, did a really good job, and we're going to intersect with a linear gradient, and we're going to come in from the side here and start adding light to our subject. So you can see our subject starts turning magenta where the light's going to hit, and I'm going to keep it pretty shallow. I'm going to have a wide gradient so we can see that the light comes in very slowly. Then I'm going to give it a little light and a little bit of shadow, and then we can just start moving this to decide how much light we want to come in on this musician. And I think I kind of like that right there. Let me hit the H key to hide our lines, and let's turn this mask on and off. Looks pretty good. I think I like that. Alright, maybe bring the highlights down just a little bit. Let's see before and after on this one. Pretty good. Now I also want to bring another linear gradient on this side to knock down some of this shine. I don't believe I'll be able to get a lot of it done, but we're going to select subject, and we're going to intersect with a linear gradient, and we're going to come in from the right here, about like this. Let's turn our H key on so we can see our lines, and let's draw this back here to make the gradient a little softer, and let's bring the highlights down so we can affect it a little bit, not too much though. It'll start looking kind of gray on us, but we can get it some. So here's our before, after, before, and after. It's kind of knocking down some of that shine here and giving us a little more darkness. And let's bring the shadows down a little bit and see what this does. And let's try a little clarity. Yeah, I like that because it's letting us keep the shadows over here, and the clarity is bringing out some highlights on the side here. Let me show you. If we move this back and forth, you can see that we're not really affecting the shine, but we are getting a little spray of light on the bottom of that cello or that bass. So let's look at our before, after, before, and after. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now I just want to kind of affect the wall here because the light is coming in on this wall, and to do that we're going to use a select object, and we're just going to hit this wall real quick, just like this, get a good mask with object mask, and it missed a little bit there. So let's go add with a brush, and we're just going to be real careful. Let's turn our flow all the way up. We're just going to mask right across here and like this. Again, we're going to grab an intersection mask with a linear gradient. We're going to bring it in on the side here and hit our H key to bring our lines back in, soften up our gradient, and let's bring some light in about like that. It looks pretty good to me. Now you notice we didn't do this over here, and that's because I think the light is a little stronger on this side and the man blocks a lot of it, so I don't want to use the same mask. I also, let's put a little texture in to bring out those bricks. That looks a little better, about like that. Now let's go and create another mask with our select object, and we're going to grab part of this wall here. And we're going to add with the brush for the parts that it missed, about like this. And we're going to intersect with a linear gradient. And we're going to start from the same side as we did the other one to bring it in about like this. Add just a little bit of light. Might want to make this a little softer. So we'll bring this gradient closer this way. So as we create the gradient, it's not overpowering, because we do need shadows here on the side. So if we turn our overlay on, so you can see, we just want to make that light coming in very slowly, because this is still in shadow, but there should be just a little light there. So I'm going to turn the overlay off so we can see our light, and I'm going to make it about like here. I'm going to go to effects and add texture so we can see the cracks or where these bricks were laid. Alright, so I think that's a good job on our wall. We have good light here. I might put some more light coming in here a second, but now I want to concentrate on the mural, because these guys up here, I think, to me, they're watching this musician, and we want to kind of bring that out a little bit. So I'm going to go and grab a radial gradient. I'm going to put just a light radial gradient around this gentleman's face. Just spin it around so we get it right here, and we just want to add just a little touch of light, very little, maybe some shadow, just to bring that face out a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. I'm going to hit the N key, which gives me another radial gradient, and I can go over to this gentleman's face, size that up, same thing, just a little touch of exposure, a little touch of shadow, about like this. Hit the N key for another radial gradient. Spin this around so it covers more of his face. Going to turn up the exposure just a little tiny bit. Now on this one, I might actually go to dehaze so I can get more contrast in his face and give it a little more shadow, about like that. There we go. And for our final guy, let's get another radial gradient. Just going to spin it right here. Add a little exposure, not too much because he's kind of in the background. Little shadows, about like this. Then I'm going to grab my brush, and I'm going to turn the flow down to about 40%. Give it just a little tiny bit of exposure, and I'm just going to hit some of these areas right here, like this, because I want to add contrast in this mural, like it's lifelike. So it looks like there should be a little light here, maybe a little light here, a little light here. I don't think we can hit anything else because this is pretty much in dark, and we have this fogginess from the environmental changes of the mural. We can grab another brush, and let's kind of go over this red here, not the hand, just the red of this scarf on this guy's waistline. And what I probably want to do here is try a little dehaze and see if we can get that fogginess out of it a little bit. Yeah, we could just a little bit there, maybe a little clarity. Looks a little better. I like that a little better. So if we look at this before, after, before, and after, gives us a little more clarity, gets rid of some of that haze. And we could actually even try that down here. We'll brush down here about like this in this area. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try a little dehaze here. Yeah, a little bit. Add a little clarity. Yeah, that does a little bit better. So, using dehaze and clarity, you can start masking around and see if you can get some of this cloudiness from the fungus, whatever else is growing on this mural, to make it look a little bit better. All right, the last thing probably I want to do is I'm going to grab a radial gradient. I'm going to come off canvas here. I'm going to go about like this. And I just want to bring in just a little bit of light, not a lot, just a little bit, to finish up this scene. Maybe add a little dehaze, negative dehaze. Let's see what this looks like. That's a bit much, but let's grab our amount slider and bring it down just a little bit till it's about there. Maybe let's even try it a little more narrow, about like this. Just add a little color to it, a little golden light coming in, and bring up the amount slider. This is really subjective. I like the light coming in, I just don't know how much I want to come in. So let me look at before, after, before, after. I kind of like that. So now let's take an overall look. I'm going to hit the H key to hide all the pins. So we can go look at our masks before, after, before, and after. You could maybe try a vignette, a very mild vignette, and we'll use a radial gradient for that and see what it looks like. I'm not sure that it's worth the effort. We'll put the gradient in there and hit invert. We might even want to make it bigger so we don't cover so much area around the edges, because I kind of like the edges being left the way they are because of the way the sunlight's coming in. So let's just take this tone down just a little bit. Look at before and after, before, after, before, and after. I don't want it to affect my light here too much. I might even try to bring this up a little bit more, because we want to see this light coming in. And of course we could always, with our vignette, go to our vignette here and we could turn down our highlights, which protects the highlights a little bit, or turn them up to bring the highlights away from the vignette. So this affects the vignette more. Highlights up takes the vignette away from the highlights. So let's see how this looks. Before, after, before, and after. So there you have it, a full processing of a photograph to bring in just the right amount of light to really make that photograph pop. Now, I know I didn't spend a lot of time explaining the use of Pure Raw or Topaz Photo AI or Luminar Neo in regards to the light depth mapping. Just wasn't enough time for that. But if there's something you're interested in and you would like to see a video on one of those specific applications, just leave me a note in the comments below and I'll be glad to make a video showing how we could specifically use that in different situations. Since we're getting near the end of the year, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who watches my channel, who subscribes and follows. I appreciate it more than you know, and I will try to keep bringing quality educational videos of Lightroom and supporting applications as much as I can. And as usual, can't wait to talk to you again.